All right, next level podcast listeners. This is your host, Kevin Kauffman, back. And today I've got my friend and guest, Justin Nelson from the Denver area. Justin, how you doing today, buddy?
Great. How are you doing? It's absolutely fantastic out here in Denver. Not sure about Arizona. You burning yet?
It's a little spicy out today. I'm not going to lie. So it's, we had a really great May, and here we are into June, and it's definitely, it's back to summertime. I'll put it that way.
Love it. That's why you guys have pools.
Yeah, pools and air conditioners everywhere you go in the Phoenix area, no doubt about that. So definitely not enjoying the same climate that you are. So at any rate, Justin, man, first of all, thanks for getting on this. I know you've got a crazy travel schedule and work schedule with all that you're doing. And I certainly have my fair share of things going on as well. But so I was glad we could kind of sync up our calendars today to record this podcast. You know, one of the things that I love doing, the reason why we have this podcast is I get to learn so much from other realtors. Some people have been in the business a lot longer than me. Some of them, for 30 seconds like yourself.
Yeah.
And the point is, though, I learn from all my friends, and I get to learn from all these people that are doing different things in the business. And I love to highlight the fact that there's just not one way to do business in our industry. There's actually a ton of different ways. And you're a guy who came on the scene hot and heavy with your real estate business. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to talk about what you're up to and your life and your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, like you said, traveling around the world right now. I mean, I'll probably live about 300 days on the road this year. So we'll see if that is maintained long term. But yeah, about 300 days teaching social media classes to agents across the country. It's really my main gig right now.
That's awesome, man. So how? Tell me, how long have you been in real estate now?
So I am 22 years old now, and I've been in since I was 16. So about 6 years.
Awesome. So, and when did you officially get licensed and actually start working with buyers and sellers?
Yeah, so I got licensed at the age of 19. So I went to college for a year, did that thing. I actually surprised the team that I was on with getting my license, dropped out of college during a local Bold class that we took, and the rest is history. It's kind of a surprise to everybody that I got licensed.
That's awesome. So you got licensed, and so did you start just working with buyers and sellers right away? Tell me about your career so far as a licensed agent.
Yeah, so as a licensed agent, when I was 19, I felt kind of like I had a head start for the previous few years, and my dad started the team in 2012. I kind of played an ISA role, so inside sales agent. I kind of played different aspects of that. So when I got licensed, I kind of was still doing the same job. I just actually was able to go out there, do the presentations, do the showings. No longer was I passing those on. So at 19, I mostly worked with buyers. My whole first year was purely as a buyer's agent.
Cool. So then did you eventually start working with sellers too?
I did.
After that?
It actually was when we started coaching with you guys. So when you guys started coaching us, you guys kind of said, you guys had that sales agent model where most of your agents can do both. And we were like, hey, that sounds good for our style of business. So it was actually right when you guys started coaching Mike and I, I ended up being able to get listings. So thank you to you that I was actually able to take listings.
That's awesome. Yeah, man. I'm a big believer, again, there's a different model for everybody, and having the specialist model is great. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'm a big fan of having the ability to let our agents work with both buyers and sellers. I think it makes you more well-rounded agent. And it honestly gives you more ownership in what you do in your job, rather than just feeling like you're a quote buyer's agent on someone's team.
Yeah, for sure. No, we absolutely love the change, and it's still something we do to this day. So.
Cool. So tell me about your business. So you started I know you're being humble and everything, but I'll brag about you. I mean, you're not on this podcast just because Fred coached you guys for a while and because we're friends, but I mean, you're on this podcast because you kicked some ass. Like, you really did some damage. Tell me about building your sales business. So you went from kind of doing all those dirty jobs on the team that probably nobody else wanted to do.
Absolutely.
Definitely gave you a head start. There's no doubt about it. Although most people wouldn't look at the grunt work as a head start, you obviously took advantage of that, and then you made that something bigger. So tell me about what was your first 3 years in real estate look like so far?
Yeah, so my first year I ended up my first 16 months in the business. I did about 380,000 in GCI. So in the Denver market, we did about 34 transactions my first year, roughly.
Wow.
So after my first year doing that, I then was kind of promoted into more of a team lead / CEO role. Again, a lot of that was through coaching with you guys. We were wanting to go into expansion. So we kind of took the people model, right? We wanted to grow the team to a large number of people and be able to spread across our area. We obviously serve all the way from Colorado Springs to, northern Colorado, which spans about 3 hours. So I was kind of given that TL role. So I was still in production my second year. I did actually a few less deals. So I didn't do around 34. I think I did like 28 or so my second year. Pretty similar in volume.
Slacker.
Yeah, slacker a little bit. I actually made more money my second year with these prices out here in Denver going through the roof. So I made more money doing less deals. But then at that time I took over as a TL. So, about 50% of my time was recruiting and also keeping up with our team. We grew, when I first got licensed, we were a team of 4. So we had one other buyer's agent. We had Mike as the lead agent. We had one TC. And by the time I ended up leaving as the TL in the last 6 months to pursue this traveling, we ended up right around 12 to 14 agents on the team.
Wow. So you grew up pretty big. So you went and grew your sales, then you went and grew the team as
Yep.
well. And I mean, like where were your buyers and sellers coming from those first couple of years?
Yeah, great question. So I always make the joke that obviously Mike, my dad, who started in 2012, his sphere of influence was mostly my sphere of influence. And he always raised me that he wouldn't ever hand me anything. And so he was like, well, this is my sphere of influence. Go find your own, right? So I'm like, interesting. What am I going to do, right? So for me, most of my business has come from social media. And I think one misconception that people have about social media, especially Facebook, which is a lot of what I focus on, is they think that I got all these millennials. They thought I got these 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds. That's actually really far from the truth. Most of my business came from 40 to 60-year-olds on Facebook. That was the majority of my business.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Like, and when you say Facebook, like, I mean, to be more specific, because a lot of people there, man, there's a lot of, I'm just going to say it. There's a lot of crap out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that teach social media that quite frankly, that they've never sold a house.
Mm-hmm.
They don't actually know how to get it to convert anything. They know how to be like present on social media, but they don't sell shit.
Yeah. Well,
you do though. Like you literally did this for your business and help the agents on your team do it. So when you say social media, like what do you mean?
Yeah. So for me, I really see social media on Facebook as 2 things. You obviously have the ad side, right? You just talked about that. You always have these gurus traveling the country teaching social media. And I call it the guru funnel. There's really 2 problems with the guru funnel. Number one, they've usually never sold real estate, right? I still think there's plenty of good teachers that haven't sold real estate, but the majority of them are bad because they've never sold real estate. They can't relate to you. They can give you high level theory, but they struggle with the implementation of it, like the actual credibility validation. The second part of the guru funnel is they always want to sell you something, right? And I don't ever think that that's necessarily a problem either, but I think the biggest problem with that is they never give you all the information you need to go do it on your own, right?
Yeah, and I think, and along those lines, Justin, I think that part of it is because there are some people that they're just selling snake oil, but then part of it is it's not that they don't want to give you what you need. It's they don't know how to do it because they haven't done it. Like they haven't taken it from like point B to point C, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they can do A to B, but they can't do the next step, which is where you actually get in front of a client, work with them.
Absolutely.
And that's just something. It's funny you use the word guru funnel. I know early in my career, I always, I came up in the short sale days and, there was a lot of gurus out there and I hated it, man. I hated the CDPE certification.
Yep.
I used to just joke. I literally got a cease and desist from that company. I would talk bad about them because it was being taught by people who actually didn't do short sales.
Yeah,
Never done one. And, the reality is I get it. Like there are some teachers out there that don't sell real estate, that there's a lot you can learn from them.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of snake oil salespeople, and that's not cool at all.
No, for sure. And so that's really where I break it down into 2 parts. So you have that, and I think that snake oil mostly comes in the form of leads, right? Because we can always sell people leads, right? Whether they're great leads, bad leads, indifferent leads, you can always sell a brand new agent. Even experienced agents will get sucked into this all the time. Is well, just as well as I do, a lead's a lead. It's our job to make that lead what it is, right? A lead's a lead at the end of the day. So for me, I really focus first on the personal page side of things, which I know I teach a lot. It's one of the favorite things your people took away when I was teaching some of your agents is the social media on the personal page side can actually fulfill for what most agents want without even having to touch any of the ad side of things and spend all that money.
Yeah. It's so true. It's funny. And you may or may not know this, but I started using social media right away. And I realized how many deals I was closing from Facebook,
Yeah.
early in my career. And I do believe I could get all the deals I need from my personal page. And I use my business pages for recruiting to the team. That's
Absolutely.
actually what I use it for. So that's when I start paying for ads and whatnot. And so I'm a firm believer in that too. And, you just mentioned, yeah, some of our folks, learn that from you. And it is like, you guys, you should know that one of the reasons Justin's here is because he's someone I trust enough. Fred and I trust enough. We put him in front of our entire team of agents for a couple weeks, and he taught them his entire system, his entire class. And quite frankly, we've had a lot of guest speakers over the years. Fred and I have taught a lot of information and classes, and I don't think we've gotten as much positive feedback from a guest speaker ever than we did for the couple weeks Justin was on doing his class. And so that's why you're here, man, because there's so much to learn from someone like you who's been in the trenches.
Absolutely. And I think, for me, I think it's that mindset moment. I mean, I don't want to take you off topic here, but do you mind if I do a little mindset moment for you?
Please do. Go ahead.
Sure. So this is one of my favorite parts of the class. Like if anybody's listening and they're just like, what should I do to start? And some mindset things, I think a big thing we break down is what I call adding strangers, right? We have to add strangers, and that scares a lot of people. But do you mind? Okay. So Kevin, when you started in the business, have you ever called for sale by owner and expired at least once in your life?
Yeah, I made one call. It scared the crap out of me.
Perfect. Me too. And so, if you were doing for sale by owners and expireds, like a lot of people that may be listening their number one goal is to get an appointment, right?
Yep.
And so when they're trying to get that appointment, we tell people, do they know that person before they call them? No, they have no clue who they are. So that person's job, Kevin, is to call strangers out of a phone book, out of a database, and go meet them at their house. So when I go into a mindset moment, that person for a living calls strangers and goes and tries to get them invited into their home. When we put it that way, it sounds a little bit weird. Now, have you ever run an open house before?
Yeah, done that too.
You want to do it? You want to invite a whole bunch of what to your open house?
A whole bunch of strangers.
A whole bunch of strangers. When we go door knock, we're going to door knock a whole bunch of strangers. When we go cold call, it's all strangers. When we go circle prospect, it's all strangers. When we go to a happy hour and we go meet all these business owners we're supposed to go socialize with, we're meeting a whole bunch of strangers. And so I always get the question, Justin, why am I not getting deals on Facebook? And my question to them is, are you adding strangers? Right? Because I found that every single lead generation method involves meeting new people and growing our sphere of influence. Because even our sphere of influence, if you start with 50, how do you grow it? We have to go meet a whole bunch of
strangers,
right? And get them into our sphere of influence. So we found that every single lead generation method involves meeting strangers, right? Even if you're only sphere of influence, you have to grow that sphere of influence, to get it. So we're meeting strangers. And so we find that social media is the same way. And I think for me, that's the number one thing I teach on to start is we have to be adding strangers. Now there's a lot of issues with that, right? When I say add strangers, we're not just going to go look up Bob Smith, in Tucson, Arizona and go, let's go add all the Bob Smiths, right? There's intentionality behind it. But I think, just like you do, you don't know all 5,000 people on your page.
I know 4,997 of them.
907. Same here. I've done deals with people that are on my personal page. So just to kind of tell you a funny story, and Mike didn't really know I did this for a little while. My father, when I first got into business, I went onto his friends list and I added all of his high school friends. I added anybody that I knew that I could maybe convince and poke fun at. So, we poke fun on Facebook all the time, Kevin, together. And I would poke fun at his friends. I would send his friends pictures of him from his high school yearbook that they didn't even know existed. And I connected with them on such a deep level that they actually use me for real estate sometimes over him.
That's funny.
And so, but they're strangers to me, right? I had to go add strangers, but there was a lot of limiting beliefs we had to get over to be able to get that done.
Dude, I think that is so huge. I know that was something that we got a lot of feedback on is when you taught that in your class and you went really deep on the strangers part and just kind of helping people kind of get over their own misunderstandings and why they're afraid of something that they're actually not really afraid of. They just think they are. Yeah. And it helped people have a totally different viewpoint to go out and add strangers, as you will. And I think that's huge because man, it's just so huge in the day and age of social media that we are today and the ability it has to impact our business. It's such a killer opportunity. You can't afford not to.
Yeah, 100%. Number one thing we get is, Justin, there's privacy issues, right? I have a family. I have all these different things. But I think you saw, I'll tell everybody, the number one tool you should be using to defeat all those limiting beliefs is called the friends list tool. That's the number one tool. If you guys want to explore it, it's on the left side of your screen on Facebook. It's called friends list. The reason no one uses it is because it says friends list. So you think if you click on it, it's going to show you a list of all your friends. It's not what it does.
It's super powerful, by the way. So, all right, dude. So I appreciate you sharing a little bit about that. What are, so I gotta go into this. I gotta ask you this question. I've been dying to ask you,
Yeah.
like, you're going to spend 300 days away from home this year. Like, what the hell are you doing, man? Like, I just remember seeing your post at the beginning of the year going, hey, I'm going to teach, what's the total number what's the goal for this year?
200 market centers.
200 market centers. So for those of you who are listening who don't know what a market center, it's a brokerage. It's a Keller Williams franchise. And so you said, I'm going to go speak inside of 200 different brokerages this year. What possessed you to do that? Because, man, I've flown around the country. I've taught a lot of classes. That is a lot of work. Like, what
It is.
It drives you to do that?
Honestly, it was my coach that kind of possessed me to do that. So she realized at the end of last year, I wasn't really happy, right? And for me, I'm not going to be in business if I'm not happy. And what she found out is I love selling real estate, but I didn't love managing people double my age. It was just at a time in my life where I didn't love managing people double my age, but I loved teaching people of all ages, right? And I don't care if you're 95 on Facebook or 18 on Facebook, we're going to find a way to get you business on it. And I love that aspect. And so she basically challenged me, Justin, you've been teaching. So the class I teach has been about 3 years I've been teaching it, all in the state of Colorado. Obviously, there's not that many KW offices in Colorado. It's kind of what I stuck to. So she challenged me to get out of my comfort zone and go teach 30 classes out of state. We sent out an email and we got all 30 classes done in about a month and a half. And so she's like, well, your goal is a little too small then. Let's stretch your beliefs. And at that time, I actually decided to go full time into teaching. And yeah, we're actually a little bit behind goal to get to the 200. We're about 70 to 80 right now, somewhere in that range. I don't have the number off the top of my head halfway through the year. So you're about to see a lot more of me on the road now.
Dude, I've seen you more in airports than I've seen you anywhere else recently. So, man, I don't envy that. Like, I've seen you going to South Dakota. Was it South Dakota or North Dakota recently?
South Dakota, yeah. I've been to South Dakota.
Like, we passed like strangers in the wind in the Las Vegas airport before the Next Level Agents event, and then obviously you were back the next day for the event, which was awesome. And it's cool to see you doing your thing, because I know the impact that agents are getting out of it. I see the comments that they post on, after you take a picture with the class members, and they always comment on there. I'm inside your private Facebook group. And so I see how much you're actually helping people. And that's a big deal to me. I love that you're really giving back to the community and not just being a guru funnel guy.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I always think, for me in the first year, I think real estate's all about connections. I think any business is all about connections, right? Who's that one person that you're going to meet that can change your life, or maybe you can change their life, is huge for me. And so when I'm going to 200 market centers that are averaging 50 to 100 a class, I've basically reached 20 to 30,000 people in 1 year. And I'll tell you, I've already found a few people that are going to change my life and, be able to, further our agendas of changing the world. Just from doing that, right? If I made $0 this year, I'd be totally okay with that, because I'm going to meet the people, that are going to help explode what we're trying to do.
Dude, that is so awesome. That's one of the things I appreciate you, buddy. So let me ask you this question. So let's fast forward a few months. So let's say we're coming up the end of 2018, 2019. Let's just say you get your goal, okay? Or you come really close to it one way or the other, but you effectively hit it. Like, what does 2019 hold for you? Is it more teaching? The one thing I know is with social media, it's constantly changing and updating, which I appreciate you've been able to stay in front of and really update your content. But like, what do you think 2020 holds for you?
Yeah, for me, a little bit, it's going to definitely include teaching. So I'll probably scale it back a little bit. Next year, our goal is about 100, market centers. And when I say market centers, we don't only teach to Keller Williams. We teach to all brokerages across the United States. And so I think we'll attempt to do about 100. And then at that time, I will begin to start building an expansion team for us at the same time.
Awesome. Yep. So you've already done a lot of that there in Colorado. And I know you still generate a ton of business and in your home state, but it's cool to see that you've got that. What's your goal? So 100 next year, after a couple hundred this year, I mean, that's going to put you in front of another 20,000 people or so.
Yeah, absolutely. And for us, it's really, I have a big desire to grow an education department that's my full-time job now. It's just training, education, and sales. I think for me, it's important to also be growing, I know a lot of different varying opinions on this, but for me to stay current, to not ever turn into that guru that's just teaching stuff that he's never done before, for me to be directly involved in a team that I'm managing is huge, because I'm getting to see the day-to-day action, right? You said you're in my private mastermind group, and a lot of what I do and the information I teach is from what I'm actually doing on a day-to-day basis, right? A lot of the stuff I share with you guys are things that I'm awfully failing at, right? I'm like, hey, we're going to try this new strategy, and we fail at it. So it makes me stay way more current, whether it's me selling the homes or not. I'm not in cars anymore. I'm not on listing appointments anymore. However, having that direct connection of people working my systems that are connected to me, it doesn't only give validation, it lets me know what's breaking, right? What's changing before it's too late.
Man, I'll never forget, he was a guest on the podcast here recently, Ronnie Dawson.
Mm-hmm.
He was a keynote speaker at Next Level Agents live this year. But I'll never forget, 2010 was the first time Fred and I started teaching outside of the state of Phoenix, where we started getting paid to go speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget that Ronnie called me and he said, dude, don't you dare become that freaking guru. Like, don't become that guy that forgets what it's like to be in the trenches. And for those of you who haven't listened to the episode with Ronnie, you should. He's an amazing speaker. It's what he does for a living. It's a powerful, powerful person. And he literally came to me, he called me and said, don't do that. You got to stay. And I'm like, trust me, that's my number one pet peeve in this business, is that there's so many people selling picks and shovels that no one's actually selling real estate. And I'll never become that guy. And that's stuck with me ever since. And I know that's something I appreciate about you, man.
Yeah, well, it's actually funny you say that. When we were in Vegas at the Next Level, which, by the way, best conference around, I was meeting with Fred one of the mornings, and he's like, what are you doing this afternoon? I'm like, oh, I'm actually flying back to Colorado for a listing appointment, and then I'll be back tonight. So he's like, yeah, it's kind of that trenches thing, right? Just do whatever it takes, to stay current.
Yeah, man, you got to do it. Like, you can't get too far removed. And don't get me wrong. We all have different seasons of our business and our career. And, especially if you grow something really big, you can only do so many jobs in your business, and you are going to get further away from the transaction if you choose to do that. And yet you can't become so removed that you just become out of touch with reality and what really happens. And
Absolutely.
you'll see so many of these gurus who do that. And, that's always a big warning red flag for me.
For sure. And a lot of the times they're blinded, right? They have this money, the thing they're selling. But if the thing they're selling stops working because social media has changed, they don't want it to stop selling, right? They want to keep selling. So they're going to keep going. Like, the auto page posters on your business page, the auto post. Don't get me wrong, those aren't awful. But here's the thing. Like you said earlier, you got most of your business from your personal page. But these gurus go out there and teach you business pages are the end of the world. They're the best thing ever. They're the end all be all. And the reason they teach that is because that's what they want to manage for you, right? They want to manage all of that. If they tell you it's not working as well as it used to, they just shot themselves in the foot and they no longer have a job.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Well, hey man, I appreciate that. Let me ask you this, because we tease a lot of people about, the fact you go out and teach. Do you only teach in person? Do you teach any classes online? Like, how can someone who's listening to this right now, who hasn't heard you speak yet, how do they get in front of Justin Nelson to either hear your class or see something you've got online somewhere?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're really open. So, for me, at the end of the day, it's all about just getting in front of as many people as possible to, just give them the basic, strategies. So there's really two main ways. The first way is you can fly me out to you. I'll tell you, I'm probably the cheapest speaker you've ever found. Actually, I didn't even tell you this. I don't know. But the first 60 classes I did this year, I did them completely for free.
Yeah, so, I knew that part.
I did them for free. So I was like, when you said you got paid to go out of state, I was like, what? We don't do that anymore.
You should have called me on that one, buddy. I'd have helped you.
We either do it in person, but, just like we did for your guys' team at EXP, we can also do it via, webinar. We did yours in a 2-part series, and we did one on the personal page side and then one on the ad side. So, really, we're willing to do whatever. I always make the joke. I have no family, no kids, no commitments. If I can get in front of, you and you want to learn from me, we'll make it happen, whichever way that is.
That's awesome. So what's the best way for people to reach out to you and find out about your schedule for teaching and your class?
Yeah, absolutely. So email is absolutely the best. If you text me, you're probably going to be like the other 900 people that I haven't responded to yet, to be honest with you. So you can just email me. Obviously, my email is just justin.nelson@kw.com. That is the absolute best way to get a hold of me.
Cool. justin.nelson@kw.com.
Yep.
Well, great, guys. I can tell you, Justin's a friend of mine. I don't let anybody on the show who I don't like, personally and business-wise. Like, they've got to be able to put up something, some sort of facts and some sort of results that will help you get your business going in a better direction than it currently is. It's just where I stand on the issue. I don't care what company they're at, what they do for a living. If they can help you, then I'm all about it. So Justin's definitely one of those guys. justin.nelson@kw.com. And Justin, got any other parting words for us, buddy?
I don't. I mean, I think for, anything I really have that's partying is just be careful what you spend your money on, right? I believe there's so much social media that you can do. I mean, I teach it a lot. A lot of us are only 6 or 7 deals, 6 or 7 people on social media away from what we want to do, right? These gurus are selling you these $1 million packages. Like, I'm going to get you $1 million this year if you do this. We all know that social media alone isn't going to build a business for you, right? In its entirety, just on that. So for me, I always say, take it easy, take it slow. And, make sure you're taking the right steps, from whoever you may be learning from.
That's awesome. All right, guys. Well, we will catch you next time. Justin Nelson, thanks a ton for being here, being our guest on the Next Level podcast today.
Yeah, thank you.